Well, first, Oscar, how are you today?
I'm good, yeah, I'm all right. I'm quite ill today. I woke up
Okay,
feeling a bit rough, so but I'm yeah, I've got people looking after me, so I'm all good.
that's good to hear. I'll keep it. I'll try and keep it short then. Um, I want to kind of jump straight into it then because there's a lot of reference to mirrors and reflections on the album, even in titles, and the album title itself, Spoon, kind of alludes to it.
Mhm.
Um, has the past 2 years been a very reflective time for you?
Definitely. I think it's been the most reflective time I've ever of my life, for
Okay,
sure. I think like it has been for a lot of people though as
sure.
well. We just had a lot of time to really, you know, just take a look at things for what they really are, and take a look at ourselves and not be distracted so much.
When kind of your occupation and the thing that you love to do is stripped away from you, at least to some extent, where did you find yourself? Were you very creative? How did you kind of fill your day, let's say?
Um, At first, I mean, I stayed creative for sure, because I think being a musician, well, especially if you kind of like play an instrument or like you produce, like you often spend a lot of time alone, kind of, and
Mm.
you will have done that a lot, at least when you're younger, kind of really getting into it to kind of hone your craft. So it was a bit of a time to actually kind of get back into that, which I do miss. Um, but at first, I actually, after I released the album, I did take a bit of time out of music. When I went to Berlin at first,
Mm.
I was just reading books and just I was listening to quite a lot of music, and I was just yeah doing a lot of journaling. I was like yeah, just reflecting on a lot of things really.
Okay. I find it interesting what you mentioned about kind of learning a craft or honing your craft, because as you mentioned, once you're on the road a lot, there's less time for that. So, were there
Definitely.
any guitarists or any artists that you kind of delved into?
During that time, I was listening to a lot of John Scofield
Okay.
at that time. I love John Scofield's playing. Um, who else? I was listening to a lot of Paul Brady. I don't know if you know him.
Mm.
He's an Irish folk artist who's got an
Okay.
incredible finger picking
Gonna write
style
that down.
as well. Um, yeah, there's some great stuff of his from the 70s, which I'd really recommend checking out.
When it came time, and because as you mentioned, well, you have some time, you don't make a lot of music, but you still stay kind of creative. But then, when does your mind turn towards writing stuff down, and especially with what you were going through at the time, and then the reflection that we mentioned, when did you start putting thoughts to paper and kind of starting to construct songs?
Um, well, it started out as more as poetry. I was just writing just a lot of ideas and poetry down, and I was practicing a bit. I had a few ideas for tracks that I'd started producing. But the time that really gave I don't know, gave birth to a lot of this music was I met up with a friend of mine called Ziggy Zeitgeist. He's
Mhm.
an amazing drummer from Melbourne who he lives in Berlin. We met up and just we set up a couple of mics and just recorded. Just we just played. We just for ages, and I was singing as well as playing, and so a lot of these ideas was just started kind of coming out. A lot of these that like this poetry and stuff that I've been writing, it kind of worked its way into these little kind of grooves and songs. And actually, all of all of the interludes in the album are taken from that
Okay.
jam, which was the original conception of a lot of these ideas.
This Well, one song, Berlin One, is one that was mentioned that it came forth out of a poem you've previously written. The title of that, Berlin One, and you've mentioned Berlin now a couple of times. What was the significance of you uh, kind of being in Berlin or moving to Berlin?
Well, it's somewhere I'd spent a lot of time before. I have some good friends there already, but I just wanted a bit of space from London. I just needed to get away from here, and yeah, I don't know. It just seemed like the logical place. I don't know. I just had a feeling that I wanted to go there, so I did, and I knew that I'd be able to. I had some contacts. I knew I'd be able to like sort out renting a studio and stuff, and
Right.
yeah, I just wanted to. I like the city, and I wanted to try living somewhere else for a little bit, and yeah, it was difficult to be honest. Like when it got to winter, lockdown winter there, it was it was it was not the easiest, but I think it really helped to inspire me to write a lot of music. So yeah.
That's good to hear. And Berlin is a beautiful city, I think, and there's a lot of lots to do there.
Hmm.
So I think it's a good place, especially with for musicians as well. It's a very creative place, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's very creative. Yeah.
But so that song Berlin One, what was the starting point of that then? Because it was written about as this kind of poem. So what did you
I
write
mean,
down initially?
it's a heartbreak song, as you can
Mm,
probably hear from the lyrics, but it's also kind of about it's back on this thing of the reflection. Like it's about seeing your self image through the eyes of your lover, whoever that would be, like, and not creating your own self image and basing your a lot of your self worth on what someone else sees of you. This could also apply to just,
sure.
I don't know, other situations in your life as well. But in that one, I was specifically talking about, yeah, a romantic relationship. But um, yeah, so that was kind of the idea running through that, and I just was right, yeah, and I just started producing the little beat to go with it. I had a little drum machine and like, um, and yeah, and then it just took shape. Yeah, it was very natural.
Okay. And the line I wrote down, I believe it was from Berlin One, is my confidence hit rock bottom, which is something you just kind of alluded to now. So
Mhm.
so this when did you start to see yourself as you are, kind of from your own perspective, or kind of, I don't know if that's not the right phrasing, but you know what I mean, I think.
I know what you mean. Yeah. I mean, it's something that I'm still working on, and I think it's something that everyone is. It's an ongoing journey to be able to to really know yourself. Like that's like the whole that's what we talk about in Buddhism or
Sure.
in Islam, in Hinduism, or just in general. Like in people just talk about this stuff. It's a constant thing that people are trying to do in life and have been throughout history. Um, and so but I think at that point, yeah, it all came to a bit of a head for me, and I really needed to, take a step back and just think about how I was kind of going about my life, really.
Fair enough.
No, I don't want to go
Well,
into too much detail,
no,
but yeah.
that's all right. But the reason I ask is because as a creative person, I would say, and obviously I'm not somebody, I'm not a musician or a painter or anything, but
With the
there
guitar
has
in
to
the
be.
background.
I have a guitar. It's more furniture these days than. But as a creative person, you do need a certain level of confidence, I suppose, to create something and like it enough to put it out there for other people to judge. So when
Mhm.
did you kind of regain that confidence then, or was it kind of through this process of making this album?
Um, I wouldn't say the confidence that like I was confident in my abilities at
Okay.
music. I wouldn't say it was necessarily to do with that, but I think what you say is definitely a valid point. Like I know a lot of incredible musicians that have barely released
Right.
any music, and they're sitting on so much amazing art because they overthink this thing of like how they're presenting themselves publicly and what people will think, or like wanting it to be perfect. And that's something that I'm really trying to let go of a bit more
Okay.
now, because I'm like, I make things. I know that people like stuff that I make because I see that, and like obviously not everyone's gonna like it, but that's just life, like that. And at the end of the day, like I enjoy making music, and I enjoy seeing how people react to that as well, and how it makes people feel. So I will continue to do that, and I feel, yeah, I feel like that's my purpose this life is to share that with people. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear that the creative confidence never waned. Um, in terms of the music, kind of the overall sonic landscape of the album, then, and I think "Channel Your Anger" is a nice example. But you do let the music breathe a lot. There's a lot of space to have certain textures and elements in your own playing, and then kind of weave everything together. So was that
Mhm.
something you wanted to do from the outset, to kind of let the songs breathe musically?
Um, uh, I wouldn't say it was something that I thought about
Okay.
in the beginning. But I did also. I've been thinking a lot about how how this whole thing of like, oh, you need to make songs that are like 3 minutes long, that
Mm,
have the chorus come in within the first 20 seconds, or like, or something, like all of these weird uh kind of mathematic formulas that people say that creates a successful song.
sure.
But all the people that say this stuff are not musicians generally, or they're people that are just making music to try and make money. And actually, I think, especially now with like streaming services as well, and like I've noticed that the stuff that really really connects with people is when the music creates a mood and it makes you
Mm,
feel something. It moves you in some respect, and that's what I was really trying to do with this music. I mean, I not wasn't consciously doing that, to get popularity or whatever, but I just,
sure.
that's what I like to do anyway. And I've noticed the songs which have that the strongest mood in my music have actually been the ones that connected with people the best. So yeah, that's just what I was trying to do. And I think I consciously didn't really have any keyboards on this
Mm,
record as well. I wanted to make it more kind of guitar focused. Oh no, there is a little bit of keyboards, but like very very, yeah, minimal. I wanted to, yeah, just have a bit more of that space. I love like John Martin, for example. This, like, and I love that ambient kind of the beauty in the space in the music.
final question, and you talk about mood. Do you have to be in a certain mood then to write these songs? And is that the mood that comes out, or can it be something that you think back to certain elements in your life in the past or whatever? Or for it sounds simple, but when you're sad, do you write sad songs? That's basically what
Yeah,
I'm
I
asking.
mean, yeah, to an extent, yeah, that does happen. When you're going through certain things, it manifests itself in the music. But I also think like you can put yourself into the position where
Mm,
you actually write, like, and you can kind of you can you can you can create that environment and that mental headspace for yourself as well. I think a lot of the time it's just kind of like just taking the steps into doing that. Like right now, I've not really been writing. I've been writing, like I've been producing tracks,
okay.
but I haven't really been writing many lyrics recently. But I know that there'll come a point where I'm kind of thinking about that more. Um, but it just depends if I'm like reading books at the time that inspire me, or I don't know, certain personal things are happening that inspire me. Like, yeah.
And then in November you'll be on tour, and is that a similar thing in your live shows, that you try to set a mood in terms of the way you build a show?
Uh, yeah, try and take people on a bit of a journey. Yeah, so we're going on tour in, yeah, around the UK, and then we're going to be in Paris, Amsterdam, and Rotterdam. Um, really looking forward to being back in the Netherlands. Like I always have great shows in the Netherlands, so, and know some great musicians as well there. Um, yeah, I like, basically how I write my music is I don't necessarily write it to be specifically this one version. So when
Mm,
you see me live, we'll play the songs and we'll play the songs but they kind of evolve and take on their own life within the live context, and that's something that you can only really experience when you see us there. Um, yeah, so I like to have it. It's, yeah, it's a unique experience when you come and see us live.
Oh, that's good to hear. And over here in the Netherlands, we're happy to have you. So best of luck with everything and with the tour. And thank you for taking the time to talk with me, even though you're not feeling the best. So thank you.
No, that's all right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for supporting my music, and yeah, nice to talk to you, man.